Assalamu alaikum. 6 p.m. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Farzana Khan. First, the headlines. Pakistan and Afghanistan have agreed on achieving the common aim of regional security through connectivity. Kashmir Solidarity Day is being observed today to condemn ongoing Indian state terrorism in occupied Kashmir. In their messages on Kashmir Solidarity Day, the President and Prime Minister reaffirmed Pakistan's continued support to the oppressed people of occupied Kashmir. Pakistan and Russia have agreed to further enhance cooperation in diverse fields, including trade, energy, and defense. The United Nations has urged Israel not to use excessive force against Palestinian protesters on Gaza-Israel border. Malaysian Prime Minister has dissolved the parliament to seek fresh mandate. And now the news in detail. Pakistan and Afghanistan have agreed on achieving the common aim of regional security through connectivity. The understanding came during delegation-level talks between Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi and Afghan President Ashraf Ghani in Kabul today. The Afghan president welcomed the Prime Minister and members of Pakistan delegation. The Prime Minister thanked the Afghan president for the warm hospitality and extended an invitation to President Ghani to visit Pakistan at his earliest convenience. Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi also held wide-ranging talks with Afghan Chief Executive Abdullah Abdullah. Various Afghan leaders, including Hizb-e-Wahdat leader Ustad Muhammad Muhaqqiq, Hizb-e-Islami leader Gulbuddin Hikmatyar, and Chairman High Peace Council Ustad Muhammad Karim Khalili also called on the Prime Minister in Kabul. Earlier, Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi and Afghan President Mohammad Ashraf Ghani offered Jummah prayers at the mosque in Kabul today. Kashmir Solidarity Day is being observed today across the country to condemn the ongoing Indian state terrorism in occupied Kashmir and to express support to the Kashmiris in their just struggle for securing their inalienable right to self-determination. The decision to observe the Solidarity Day was taken by the Federal Cabinet at its meeting held in Islamabad under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi on Monday, following the killing of innocent people by the Indian troops in occupied Kashmir on Sunday. President Mamnoon Hussain and Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi have reaffirmed Pakistan's continued and resolute moral, diplomatic and political support to the oppressed people of Indian-occupied Kashmir in their valiant struggle for their fundamental right to self-determination. In their separate messages on Kashmir Solidarity Day today, both the leaders termed the recent killing spree by the Indian security forces in the Held Valley as aggressive and mindless act. President Mamnoon Hussain called upon the international community to be cognizant of its responsibilities and urged India to facilitate the visit of independent fact-finding teams to look into the gross human rights violations in occupied Kashmir. Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi said the Jammu and Kashmir dispute is the unfinished agenda of the partition of the subcontinent and remains one of the oldest disputes on the agenda of UN Security Council. He said Pakistan strongly condemns the systematic state terrorism and brutal killings of the people of occupied Kashmir by the Indian forces. In Azad Kashmir, the main function of the day was held in Muzaffarabad, where AGK Prime Minister Raja Farooq Haider Khan, addressing the public gathering, paid rich tributes to the martyrs of liberation struggle. He said India will never succeed to suppress the freedom struggle by killing the innocent Kashmiris. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has expressed concern over the deteriorating situation in Indian-occupied Kashmir. Spokesman for the Secretary-General, Stephanie Dujarric, told newspersons at a regular briefing in New York that the good offices of the United Nations are available if both parties require and ask for it. In occupied Kashmir, massive protests were held at all major towns today against the recent killing of 19 youth by the Indian troops. Call for the demonstrations was given by the Joint Resistance Leadership. Several people were injured due to the use of brute force by the troops on the protesters. Indian troops and police personnel fired pellets and tear gas shells to disperse the protesters at various places, injuring many of them. Meanwhile, Indian troops, in their fresh acts of state terrorism, martyred one Kashmiri youth during a cordon and search operation in Kangan area of Pulwama district. The troops also launched a similar operation in Jatial area of Kupwara district today, causing huge inconvenience to the people. Air Chief Marshal Mujahid Anwar Khan has emphasized on making concerted efforts to keep Pakistan Air Force in highest state of operational readiness. He was interacting with the combat crew of PAF during his maiden visit to Air Defense Command headquarters in Islamabad today. The Air Chief appreciated the crew for their level of motivation in performing the sacred duty of defending the aerial frontiers of the country round the clock. This is Radio Pakistan giving you the news. Pakistan and Russia have agreed to further enhance cooperation in diverse fields, including trade, energy, defense, agriculture, and information technology. The consensus to this effect was reached at a meeting between Defense Minister Engineer Khurram Dastgir Khan and Russian Minister for Industry and Trade Denis Mentorov in Moscow today. During the meeting, Defense Minister underlined that relations between the two countries have improved substantively since 2013. The United Nations has urged Israel to ensure that its security forces do not use excessive force against the Palestinian protesters at the Gaza-Israel border. The United Nations human rights spokeswoman Elizabeth Trossel told a briefing in Geneva today that unjustified recourse to the use of firearms may amount to willful killing of civilians, which is a breach of the Fourth Geneva Convention. Meanwhile, clashes erupted on the Gaza-Israel border today, a week after similar demonstrations led to violence in which Israeli force killed 19 Palestinians. A Palestinian died today who was wounded a week ago during protests against Israel along Gaza's border. French President Emmanuel Macron has urged his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin to use his influence to end the conflict in Syria and resume negotiations for a political transition. Telephonically speaking today, the two leaders discussed the need to ensure that there is no resurgence of Daesh in the region. The French president underlined the need to put an end to military escalation in recent months so as to protest and protect the civilian population. France has announced to offer development loans and aid worth 550 million euros to Lebanon. The announcement was made by French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian at the opening session of an international donors conference in Paris today. In Malaysia, Prime Minister Najib Razak has announced dissolution of the parliament to pave the way for general elections. In his televised address to the nation today, he said the government has decided to seek fresh mandate for another 5 years. South Korea's former president Park Geun-hye has been sentenced to 24 years in jail after she was found guilty of abuse of power. She was also fined 18 billion South Korean won. Park had boycotted her trial, accusing the courts of being biased against her. Hockey. Pakistan will take on India in the 21st Commonwealth Games men's hockey competition at Gold Coast, Australia tomorrow. And finally, the weather report. Mainly dry weather is likely to prevail in most parts of the country during the next 12 hours. However, light rain with thunderstorm is expected at a few places in Kalat, Job, Malakand, Dera Ismail Khan divisions, Fata and Kashmir. And that is the end of the news. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and also watch live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.